Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So my name's Katie and today I'm going to be talking about some of my favourite audiobooks. I'm going to be talking about like specific books but also some like general narrators as well because I am a bit guilty of, if I find a narrator that I like, I will then like look up, because on Audible you can like click on the narrator's name and then it shows you all the books that the narrator has narrated. And I'll find the books that way. So that is how I actually discovered some of these series, which is kind of cool. So the first books that are amazing on audiobook are the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown, with the exception of the Iron Gold audiobook because that audiobook's a bit of a mess. But yeah, so the first three, the first trilogy, so Red Rising, what's the second one? Golden Sun and Morning Star, are all narrated all by Tim Gerard Reynolds, who is a fantastic narrator. I love his narration, and he is the narrator that I like looked up and then discovered another series which I will get to in a minute. But yeah, so the Red Rising series is fantastic on audio. And then the later books, because the characters, so the first three, they're all told from Darrow's point of view, and basically Darrow is this red, and the Reds are a very oppressed class of society, and he has to he kind of joins the rebellion after his wife dies, and he has to become a gold and like infiltrate the golds, and the golds are like the top dogs of society and they like run everything and like run the military and all sorts. So Darrow becomes a gold and he then has to like infiltrate and like sabotage and stuff. So it's kind of following that, and then the second two it becomes much more space focused and they kind of get these space battles and like it's really cool. The latest it's a later trilogy but only the first two are out, and you get a lot more POVs, so you get Darrow but then you also get some new POVs as well. So the narrators, you get different narrators. And the first, so Iron Gold, the audiobook, basically what happens is the narrator's okay, but well, yeah, Tim Gerard Reynolds is really good. John Careless, I think it is, who does Ephraim, is really good, especially in Dark Age. His narration is fantastic. And then yeah, the other two I'll talk about in a minute. But so what happens in the Iron Gold audiobook is the different narrators and different POVs, they basically, this volume switches a lot, so you one will be really quiet and you'll like turn the volume up and then it'll change and something is really loud, so you have to turn it down. So just be wary of the Iron Gold audiobook. But then the Dark Age one is really fantastic. I think they fixed their issues from that one. And in Dark Age as well, one of the characters, Lyria, is narrated by Moira Quirk, who will also pop up on this list. Yeah, Lysander's narration, I don't know about that one because I think I liked him more in Iron Gold, because so for Lysander and Lyria they like changed the narrators. I guess they had a lot of complaints or something, but I actually preferred Lysander's narration in Iron Gold, I think, because in Dark Age he sounds like an 80-year-old chain smoker. And yeah, they changed Lyria as well, which they changed it to Moira Quirk, so yeah. And then there's one more character, oh yeah, Mustang's narration, or Virginia's narration in Dark Age, is really good as well. So yeah, I just love that series and I love the audiobooks for that series. It's definitely a series which like I will always reread on audio. Like I was very tempted by those Fairy Loot editions of Red Rising, but I was like, I can't justify this because I'm never going to read this series like physically. So yeah, although having said that, like Gideon and Harrow, I'll probably never read that physically, but I have them because I love them so much. So yeah, anyway, that's a tangent, but a nice segue onto Gideon the Ninth. And I bring this up like every video on my channel, probably more than Stormlight at this point, but I love them, and they're narrated by Moira Quirk, who is also does one of the Dark Age POVs. But she is a fantastic narrator, especially for Gideon. I feel like she fits the voices so well. Like Gideon's kind of cheek and like kind of sass and humour, she just captures perfectly, but then also she kind of captures the like lictors and the more kind of godlike characters and their like posh voices so well, and the like perfect kind of condescension of those characters, and she just does all the characters so well, and I really love the narration. I feel like they just bring the story to life so much. Like generally I will enjoy, if the audiobook is good, I generally enjoy a book more on audio, especially for certain kinds of books. And I feel like, because I feel like this maybe has a slight theme to it, this list. Like certain books just fit so well on audio, and I feel like Gideon the Ninth is one of them. And I think especially sci-fi, I really tend to like sci-fi on audio. But yeah, no, so Gideon's fantastic. I'm not going to give a synopsis because I've given a synopsis like every video. And basically the tagline is lesbian necromancers in space. which is kind of true, but just the first book, it's not really in space. That's just my caveat there. So don't go expecting like a kind of really epic sci-fi. It's quite like, it was almost like this gothic man-in-mid mystery type thing, and then yeah, the space elements come in later. Same with Red Rising actually. The first one isn't very spacey. It's almost Hunger Games like, so yeah. This video is getting very chaotic. I'm like talking about 100 different things. So then we're going to go back to Tim Gerard Reynolds, who is one of my favourite narrators, and he narrates all Michael J. Sullivan's books. So like there's the Theft of Swords series and also the Legends of the First Empire series, and I love them both. I think Legends of the First Empire I like slightly more. It's probably my favourite series, but like he's such a good narrator, and I feel like it contributes so much to my love of that series, just the audiobooks and like his voices for all the characters, and like, and it's so funny because I feel like one of the, so in Theft of Swords basically following Royce and Hadrian, and they are this like thieving duo, and in this first book they kind of get framed for killing the king, and then they have to kind of run away, but then they sort of have to come back at some point because something's going wrong, and like the princess and basically yeah, so I think the princess like helps them run away, but they're worried that the princess is actually like evil, and it all gets a bit convoluted, but it's really good and it was so much fun. And like Royce and Hadrian are the original like Grumpy Sunshine. Their dynamic is perfect. They're so funny. And yeah, and the voice that he does for Hadrian is kind of similar to his Severy voice, which I always find so funny when you like read a book which is a different book but it's the same narrator and they have like the same voices for certain characters. Like I feel the same with Moira Quick. Her like Victra voice is very similar to like Ianthe type voice. So yeah, that's so funny. But anyway, in the Legends of the First Empire series, we're kind of following the like Theft of Swords world, but like 3,000 years in the past, and it's sort of telling the story of the kind of legends of the time now. And I think it's sort of, it's a really good thing of like how a lot of them were women, but they've kind of been like man washed by history, and just these kind of real underdogs that are kind of stepping up and like becoming heroes. And it's just a really good series. Yeah, in the first one it's basically we're following this like village of humans, and they're kind of being attacked by the Frey, who are like elves, and so they have to kind of defend themselves and basically like sort out what's going on, and it ends up with this big war between the humans and the Frey. But the characters just, they're so like lovable, and there's so many great like female characters. And yeah, so that's that series. I'm not really following a cohesive plan here, but you know. Okay, then the next narrators that I want to mention are Michael Kramer and Kate Redding, and they do all the Stormlight audiobooks, and then Michael Kramer does the Mistborn, I'm just pointing, does the Mistborn audiobooks, and they also do the Wheel of Time audiobooks, and Kate Redding does the Furies of Calderon series by Jim Butcher, which I actually really enjoy those books. Like, maybe there's some slight misogyny, and I feel like I hate Stormfront so much that I feel like people maybe think I don't like his other books, but I actually do quite like his other books. Like Tarby, who's the main character of Furies of Calderon, I love him so much, he's such a great character. But yeah, and so they're really good narration. I think Michael Kramer also does Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, which is there. I'm very excited to read that one. So yeah, they're quite prolific audiobook narrators, but they're so talented, and yeah, I really enjoy their narration, so that's one. And another reason to read the Cosmere. Yeah, although, so I've listened to like snippets of the Stormlight books on audio, but I haven't actually listened like all the way through all the series. But I know like Tammy and Nicole always complain about Michael Kramer's voice when he says Navani from like Dalina's POV. I was like, Navani, which I find so funny for some reason. But yeah, sorry if you were just triggered. Okay, then next we have some like more actual books rather than narrators. So the first one is The Martian by Andy Weir, and this one is so funny. I don't know the name of the narrator, but he captures like Mark Watney's personality so well. And I honestly don't, I think I would have enjoyed The Martian if I'd read it physically, but I don't think I would have enjoyed it quite as much if I hadn't listened to it on audio, because just the way it kind of captures his like personality, and I feel like it just really, the audiobook really kind of captures the like light tone to it, the sort of, I don't know, just his humour and his kind of drive to really survive, because we're following Mark Watney, who basically gets stranded on Mars and he has to survive there by himself, and he's a botanist, so like in order to like make enough food for himself he like grows these potatoes, and it's just so cute. And then we're also kind of following NASA as they realise Mark Watney's alive, and so they have to kind of decide like how they're going to save him and how much they're going to tell the public, and like, so it's really good. And there's a lot of like more to the plot than just a survival story. But Mark Watney just has this kind of unshakable personality and resilience, and it is such a joy to read. So yeah, and the audiobook is obviously amazing, that's why it's on this list. Yeah, so then next we have the Graceling Realm books by Kristen Kershaw, and I really enjoyed the audiobooks for these. Like I've only listened to Fire and Bitter Blue on audio, and I read Graceling and Winterkeep physically, but I really love the narration, and I think it's the same narrator who does all of them. And I don't know, her narration, like, it's not anything like super special, but it's just really good, and I feel like she captures the kind of characters so well, and like the sort of differentiating between the different, so there's like the main protagonists, they're all quite different and they have such different kind of struggles and different sort of personalities, but I feel like she captures their personalities so well. Like I just recently listened to Fire, like reread, and it was really good, and I just love the kind of world she creates with her voice. So yeah, I really love that series. The first one kind of following Katza, and she is like an assassin type thing, because she has this like grace, so gracelings are people who have this like special talent, and Katza's kind of grace is sort of fighting, well that's what they think it is, and so she's kind of hired out as this assassin, but then one day this I think they have to go and rescue this like prisoner from this who's been like taken, and then they end up going to this other like Muncie, and then their kind of Katza ends up rescuing Bitter Blue, who at the time is like a young child who is the daughter of the king of Muncie. And yeah, the king of Muncie is very evil, and he's kind of the overarching villain of the first 3 books. And it's really interesting because then Fire is like set in the past in this other mountain country called the Dells, and basically Fire is encountering this king when he's a child, and how he's like the villain in that sense, which is really interesting. And then in Bitter Blue is a bit older, and she's kind of become the queen of Muncie, and she's sort of dealing with like the shadow of her father's past. So it's very interesting, and it's a really good series, so I'd highly recommend. It's like a YA series that really kind of stands the test of time, I feel, and it has so much like feminist empowering themes. So yeah, that's really good. We have The Archive of the Forgotten by AJ Hackworth, and I'm assuming Library of the Unwritten as well, but I didn't include that one because I didn't actually listen to that on audio. But The Archive of the Forgotten audiobook was just so good. I feel like it's narrated by, I think she does The Starless Sea as well, or one of the characters in that, but she's really good. Just her characters, like voices, I don't know, I feel like they just captured the personalities of the characters so well. Like Heroes, just this kind of like insufferable charm almost, and then like Rami's kind of stoicism, and like Brevity's sort of kind of what free-spiritedness, I guess. And yeah, so I just really enjoy that, and it's such a, if you like looking for a really kind of good like sort of found family book, which is really cool. Sort of the like in the first book they're in this like library in hell, which is where all books that are yet to be written like reside, and one of the characters from a book escapes, and that's Hero, and then the librarian Claire and her assistant Brevity have to try and track him down, and basically the library's under threat as well. So yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's really exciting and cool. So yeah, also have the Daevabad series by S.A. Chakraborty. I can't believe I forgot that then, because it's like one of my favourite series. I love the narration of this series. Again, I read all the books on audio, and I feel like I might not have enjoyed the series as much had I not read them on audio. And it just, the voices that the narrator does, and like the way she's able to kind of craft this world, I feel like just fits so well. Like she really kind of captures Nari's sort of drive to like succeed and survive. And I think she changes her voice, but like the voice from Muntadir in City of Brass, it was so good. But I feel like she toned it down a bit in the later books. But yeah, I feel like that's when I started really liking his character, which is probably why I like him, because like some people I'm looking don't like him that much. So yeah, but I love him. But yeah, I love Nari as well. She's probably the best. And Maniza. Oh, how can I forget Maniza? Yeah, some people also don't like Maniza. So basically the Daevabad series, in the first one following Nari, who's like this con artist in Cairo, and one day she accidentally summons this jinn called Dara, who then kind of whisks her away to this magical city called Daevabad, and there sort of Nari gets embroiled in the politics of Daevabad, which is quite like rife. But no, yeah, rife with strife. I don't know. And Nari basically almost discovers she has these hidden connections to Daevabad politics. And then we're also following Ali, who's the prince of Daevabad, and he's kind of slightly misguided, and he's trying to fight for the Shafi, who are like half Daeva, half human. and they're kind of, they don't have many rights, so he's trying to like fight for them, but he's sort of going about it in maybe slightly the wrong way. But yeah, it just becomes this big like drama, and it's so good. So yeah, I would highly recommend that series. And then finally we have another narrator, because I forgot to mention him earlier, and I feel like this one, so I didn't love this series, but I feel like the only reason I kept reading was for Stephen Pacey's narration, and that is Stephen Pacey of the First Law world. I'm sure he does more, but mainly he does all the First Law audiobooks. And his narration is just fantastic. Like, yeah, he's honestly the reason I kept reading these books, and probably the reason like I want to continue, although I do have Best Served Cold like physically. But if I like Best Served Cold, I feel like I want to read A Little Hatred and the Trouble with Peace on audio. Yeah, because his narration is fantastic. Like Glockter, he has this sort of, so he has this kind of, I think his teeth are like messed up, so he has this kind of lisp, and he does that really well. And then, but also he has this, Glockter has this like internal monologue, and I feel like he does a really good kind of distinguishing voice for that. And then just the other characters, I feel like he just like his voice basically. And yeah, well the one thing that is like scarred into my brain forever is in the sex scenes, he does this like panting thing, which is so cringy. But yeah, so that's that. And also another narrator, Steve West, his voice is just like butter. So yeah, so that's all for the video. I'm sorry if this was a little bit chaotic. Hopefully you got at least some recommendations, maybe. Definitely let me know in the comments what your favourite audiobook is. I would love to know. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I hope you're all having a great day, and I will see you next time.